Good afternoon, happy Friday. Like attracts like. Misery loves company. But just as equally, smiles are contagious. And they create the happy hormones that each and every one of us, we want to feel. We want to feel good because we've been taught, conditioned, that it's not okay to not feel okay. That anything that is outside of happy and joy and feelings that are good, that those are supposed to be denied, rejected, abandoned, suppressed, stuff those down. If anybody out there can relate to this, but doesn't that make it feel even worse? When you push down, when you don't feel good, when you reject a feeling that isn't comfortable, that it actually just amplifies it. It just makes it worse. And the truth of life is about feeling everything fully and richly. A well-lived life includes the entire roller coaster ride, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, the left, the right, because we live in a world filled with duality, polarity. For one extreme, there is the other. But when you're on the pendulum, swinging back and forth, there is a point where you come to center, that you no longer notice the extremes because you're in the present, the gift of the now, the moment that presents itself to you to see if you're paying attention, to witness, to be in the present is the gift. So why is that so difficult for people? Why is it we're always seeking something else? Fear of missing out, FOMO. Reaching for the next high. Running from the pain. Running from the discomfort. Why? Oh, why are we trying to hide something that is a part of the human experience? It's natural to each and every one of us. And that the gift that it presents us, because everything is a gift in itself, is always an opportunity for growth, for evolution, for expansion. That is what life is about. That when you know better, you can do better. And then when you have one experience that is so tumultuous, so horrific, so horrible, now you know what that feels like. And you can appreciate more of the good, the great, the pleasure. But here's the thing that most people don't do is they don't appreciate the pain that makes them appreciate the pleasure. That rejecting that pain is denying that it even showed you how good the pleasure was. That pleasure serves up on a silver platter, that you were so willing to feel the pain that you could experience it. And that the pain served up the pleasure on a silver platter just for you. That there's pleasure in your pain and pain in your pleasure. And that at any point in your life, you are on either extreme of that pendulum ride of life. Extreme joy, extreme pain. It's always going to go in the opposite direction. The question is when and how will you respond to it? Will you embrace it? And recognize the gift that it is giving you. That all of these experiences we have in this life right now are really just to bring us back to the moment, the present, to present itself to you, to go, how are you labeling this time? Are you rejecting? Are you denying? Are you running? Are you hiding? You chasing the high? Avoiding the low? How far are you willing to go? Or not? I woke up this morning and the theme that dropped in so heavily, there's a lot of miserable people right now. They're running around and finding ways to avoid confronting the inner pain. There's drama in their trauma. Creating these big shows, these demonstrations of how upset they are, how miserable they are, how easy it is to point fingers and project at other people. That misery has nothing to do with anybody outside of you. It has everything to do with what's going on within you. And that when you point a finger at someone else and try to blame or shame someone else for how you feel, you're giving your power away. You're not taking personal responsibility, nor are you being accountable for your own emotions, your own feelings, your own life. You are playing the victim of your circumstances as opposed to owning your life, empowering yourself, standing strong in your power and going, fuck, I feel like shit. That's important to feel. It's important to own that. But when you point the blame outside of yourself, it just means you're distracting yourself from even confronting anything. The non-confrontational, passive-aggressive, it's not me, it's them. No, the one constant, consistent aspect involved in all of it is always going to be you. Whether you're in your joy or in your pain, it's your choice. It's in choosing that you have the power. So whether you choose to be the victim or the victor, or the creator of your reality, or the, again, victim of your circumstances, it's up to you. You have the power. Nobody can do anything to you that you don't either do to yourself or you allow them to do to you. So when you're miserable, you have to question, how did I get here? What is this really about? Am I willing to sit in this discomfort to find my way out into my comfort? Again, the present, the gift that is always presented to you in the moment is whether you are going to take that blessing, that lesson, and grow, evolve, and expand with it. Or you will choose to devolve, to ignore and deny your own growth, your own life, your own ability to enjoy, to be in joy, or even in pain. Because again, it is always for your choosing. It's up to you to decide if it's ruling you or you're ruling it. The master of your mind or the slave of your mind. When you master your mind, you master your life. But see, it starts with the breath. That everything is going to start up in the mind. We can say, oh, this happened to me, but how many times are you going to tell the story before you even get sick of hearing it? And recognize, holy crap, I just keep repeating and regurgitating this miserable story. And so it is. Words cast spell. And the stories that you tell aren't just telling on you, but creating more of that for you. If we're not present and noticing our own thoughts, we're just spewing off at the mouth. Leukoplakia, I think it was from some movie, Lucas, beautiful movie. Projectile vomit. Like, this is why I do what I do. Because I know that when we slow down and we tap into our breath and we become present, we slow down long enough to hear our own thoughts, to witness them, to confront them, to observe what goes on behind our own scenes as we play in this game of life. The theater, because we choose how the world gets to see us in every moment. And as I say, the body is always telling on the mind. So you can try to think it's all clever and you can come up with all sorts of stuff, but that body's always going to show. And when your head is jutted forward, it's telling you how you're anticipating the future, how you're letting the head run the show. But if your heart and your alignment is strong and your head is level over your shoulders, then you got a level head and it's observing the heart as you let it lead. Le cœur. Misery is always going to be a choice just as easily as you can smile and you can flip the switch to some form of pleasure or joy, whatever brings you joy, do more of that. There's too much suffering in the world that most people don't realize they're creating and choosing. It's okay to suffer. It's okay to feel like crap, but don't live there. Don't make that your constant contact, your constant focus. Years ago, when I was much younger, I can explicitly remember this. And so this is how I know, the only reason people are aware or can see things in other people is because they can see it in themselves. They've either been there, they are there, or they're possibly going to go there again. There's patterns, and we repeat ourselves. We're predictable. And we even have to take personal accountability for how we participate in the programming that we attach to. i.e., your belief systems are your biggest addiction. If you're flexible, you're fluid, you're willing to confront them, question them, maybe even change them, then you've got one over on the rest of us. Because the truth is, we gotta be able to confront, to have dialogue, to have confrontation with ourselves first, so that we can evolve and grow. If we stay stuck with the dogmatic beliefs and all these ideologies, how are we ever going to improve upon one moment to the next? If you're so rigid, the body will tell you. A stiff back, ooh, I can just tell you that's a great display of how strong it is, your will, your mind, and who's running the show. Because the body stiffens up like, oh, that doesn't feel right. I don't agree with that. It's a litmus test. It's kinesiology. It is your body will tell you the truth long before the mind will own it. And that's how clever the mind is. But the thing is if you know yourself well enough, you'll be able to see through other people's stuff. You'll recognize in others the things that you yourself have done. And when you've been there, you can call out the bullshit because you know your own shit. And you're not beating around the bush, avoiding anything. Because when you can confront yourself, it's easier to see through everything around you. But until you're willing to do that, then you're never going to be able to see past yourself because you'll be so stuck in it. You'll only identify with those that you want to defend because you want to defend your own beliefs. And that's a powerful one right there. Most people don't want to own their misery or their such dogmatic beliefs that they will defend them in a way that supports and enables them. If you can't confront your own stuff, other people will show up to confront you. They will trigger you. They will poke and provoke you. And all they are is just a catalyst to wake you up and to see if you're willing to do the work to heal that aspect of yourself, to own that area, that shadow, because most people don't want to own their shadows. But your shadow is existing so that your light will illuminate. And the shadow and the light, can't exist without each other. Again, dualism. Polarities. You can't have the dark without the light and the light without the dark. They equally support and are a part of one another. The more mindful and aware of our own thoughts, behaviors, beliefs, and actions, the more powerful we can be in changing, adapting, overcoming, creating something new. Otherwise, you're at the whim of the old. You're at the whim of the, it's always going to be this way, these old paradigms that are falling by the wayside. We've been there. We've done that. You can no longer deny the truth that had been swept under the carpet. Well, we don't talk about that. Somebody else will get upset. We don't want to upset people. We don't upset the apple cart. The truth is the apple cart was turned over a long time ago. And until you own your part in this life, step into the role of know thyself, you'll just be the victim of your circumstances. It takes a lot of personal accountability. It takes integrity. It takes courage and vulnerability to step into your personal power and not let others hold it over you and try to force you to go along with their beliefs. We don't all have to agree, but we don't have to fight about it either. Just because someone thinks differently than you doesn't mean you don't have the same desires in this life, which ultimately are humans in unity, humanity, love, acceptance. I see you, I witness you. I don't have to know what your past is to love you. That I'm not going to choose to take a side with somebody who's totally innocuous, does not belong in my life, is kind of out there in the distance. Like this whole loyalty to whether it's sports, politics, religion, you name it, is just divisive. Divide and conquer, the art of war. If we're fighting against each other, you're giving them the power, not us. And I say them in very general sense because we don't even know who they really are. We don't know what's really going on. Yet we're falling prey to a game we don't even know the rules and what's being used against us, which is us. Fairness is such an underestimated quality. And fairness to one person is often in the belief system and an opinion of expectation. So when we talk about fairness, that's a great one. What is fairness? How about every human has access to fresh water that's unadulterated, unchemically treated, it's not poisoned with a bunch of who knows what, fluoridated to dumb us down, clean, fresh fruits and vegetables. How about a roof over your head, electricity, running water, all these things, basic human needs that we shouldn't have to pay for to live on this planet. Yet we are living in more of a narcissistic society than we ever have. And certain people at certain echelons, they want that because the narcissist at the top, the psychopath, the sociopath, needs the same type of behavior and mentality to support their behavior and enabling. That's how that works. The gaslighting is all to light a fire and get people to fight amongst themselves and not see the man behind the curtain that's basically pulling the ropes and the strings. And it's only one. Yet they've got millions playing this game in their defense. How obnoxious is that? At what point do we wake up and say, no, I love my fellow human more than that? That I'm not going to hoard money, go running after digital currencies because God forbid that everything goes, what we'd say in the military, tango uniform, tits up. It's essentially another form of greed, idol worship. If you have what you need to live, you have people in your life that make you happy, that support you and uplift you, and you know that you're doing the same in return. How is it that we can't come together and create something new? That we're so dependent on a system that's slowly dismantling, slowly dissolving, and actually faster than we realize, in such a way that they're hoping that without money, you'll feel like you have to depend on them. If it came down to it and your money was poof, gone, because this is me as an IT professional saying, how could so many people put so much attention and belief in a digital currency when that could be gone in an instant? It's power, it's electricity. Without that, where is it? No different than anything else in the world. How's that going to feed you? When it really boils down to it, you go outside, you find yourself some fruit trees, you find yourself some vegetables, you can forage for food, but most people don't even know the basics of homesteading or taking care of themselves or who to turn to. Let me tell you who's going to survive and who's going to do the best if something were to come down. It's the poorest of the poor. You know why? Because they know how to barter. They know how to get their needs met in a way that most people are so coddled and so dependent on a system that needs them more than they need it, because they don't know anything more. They don't know how to even take care of themselves without this codependent, toxic relationship that's going on. And people need to actually own their shit. Like, if you're miserable, it's okay. Look in the mirror and say, I'm fucking miserable. My life sucks. I don't like this. And then go, so what is it about my life that I'm choosing to be miserable about? What is at the root of this? What is my drama around my trauma? Why am I so upset? What is it that's causing this anger? Because there's a lot of anger out in the collective right now. People who are so fried, so empty, because they don't even recognize their addiction to their drama and their trauma. They don't recognize that this isn't a problem outside of them, it's inside of them. This past year has given everybody the opportunity to go within and to confront whatever came up. Little trigger here, little trigger here. Triggers are meant to open the wound for you to heal them, to bring it to surface so that, hey, this has been sitting in the background, waiting for your attention for so long that it can't hide any longer. And until you are willing to sit with that and to feel that, the pain, it won't turn into pleasure. If you numb it out, you're numbing everything else out. You're denying yourself a truly rich, fully lived life by denying yourself exactly what you claim to want because you're unwilling to go through the pain to get to your pleasure. And that's a lot of people right now. They would rather be up in arms, angry, blaming, shaming, pointing fingers, and not even looking at the three, that loaded gun they've got back at themselves. It's easier to project it, distract themselves, than to go within and actually confront it. And when you do that, you just disempower yourself. You actually cut yourself down even more. And part of the programming that's going on, whether it's subliminal, predictive, whether it's stories we've all read and attached to, because that's what life is. It's a collection of stories, what we've been exposed to. Really? Individual, unique thought? How many of you out there can own your own thoughts and know what is truly yours, or that you adopted someone else's story? How many of us reach a certain age and start to recognize, oh my gosh, I became my mother, I became my father, my relationship is just like my parents? Before you realize, this shit stops. This isn't me. This isn't even my life. How did I end up replaying? Why did I catch on to this craziness that's not even mine? Can you own that? That the misery might be that you yourself didn't live your own authentic life, that you were living out someone else's plan or someone else's storyline? How challenging that must be. Because that's what causes the inner frustration, anxiety, that you yourself know, and the body feels it first because you got to feel it. And here's the thing, truth can only be felt. Again, the body's always telling on the mind. The discomfort in the body is telling that the mind is trying to come up with a story that doesn't align with its integrity. It's not aligned with your heart and soul. Truth has to be felt. That's why we have a physical body, to align mind, body, and soul. Without that, you don't necessarily have truth. Might be someone else's truth. Might be a truth that you think is a truth if you're up in here. But again, the body will tell you if it's true or it's not. It's up to you to listen, to tap into your body's wisdom, to listen to the language that it speaks. You've got everything you need right here. And when you distract yourself without going everywhere outside of yourself, you're only doing yourself a harm. You claim to want to feel good, yet you're creating all the negativity and the drama around the trauma you're unwilling to actually confront. Feel it to heal it. The only way we can get to the pleasure, to get to the comfort, to get to the joy, is to also be willing to equally participate and experience, witness, and really appreciate the pain that brought us to it. They're two parts of the whole that make you human. This is the gift of this human experience, and so many want to deny it. Or they're so stuck in the drama of that trauma, they use it as a story to enable and keep them stuck, instead of recognizing the story is up to you to rewrite, to tell it differently. Words cast spells. Tell a different story, cast a new spell. Lift the veil, peel the layers away, and reveal your own truth. Your Sat Nam, that truth is my identity. And this is why I'm having this Women in Wellness program, 11 weeks. We'll dive deep into all of this if you're willing to do the work. If it speaks to you, if you want to change your life, that's what this is about. And you yourself know where you're at and what you feel. And if you're in misery and you're ready to just say, I'm done with this, we're about solutions. Stop the complaining. We've had over a year to complain about stuff. And where did that get us? Sitting on our thumbs? Dis-ease in the mind becomes dis-ease in the body. When you become at ease and own your own thoughts and go, oh, ooh, I feel that, I own that. The more you own it, it doesn't own you. Our thoughts create our reality, conscious or unconscious. The more conscious you are of your thoughts, the more mindful, the more present, the more predictive your life will be for you, the more intuitive you become. When you tap into your senses, when you are fully present, we're going to work on you becoming more intuitive with you, to know your own truth, that all you got to do is just breathe into, where do you feel it in your body? What does that conjure up? What are the thoughts? What are the memories? What's being evoked in this moment? Are you feeling drawn and pulled into, or are you feeling the repelling? Everything is energy. And we as humans need to take personal responsibility for our energy and how we show up to others, because that in itself is your power. You can influence a room just by owning your truth. You all know what it's like when there's a powerful presence and someone in the room and you're like, whoa, I felt them come in the room. Do you want that for yourself? I can't imagine anybody who wouldn't. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of vulnerability to be willing to step forward, to level up, to be your best version of you. And it's only up to you, because nobody can do it for you. Truth. Truth doesn't have to be words or an experience or proven in a court of law. Truth is known. And truth is always revealed, and it always comes out. And you know, on an innate, deep level within you, you know truth. If your gut says, ooh, I don't know if I feel like doing this, and then you go ahead and do it, how many of you out there have experienced that? Like, you got a gut sense. Your intuition was already speaking to you, but you denied it. You rejected it because of this. You let the head get in the way. But when the heart is leading, it will never lead you astray. It's the head that gets in the way. Pay attention to your body language. Are you always like jutting your head forward, getting into the future? Can't be present. How busy are you? How constant fight, flight, freeze, or fawn are you? See, the more you're a complainer, the more you're in your misery, you're actually in the sympathetic nervous system, which means that you've got cortisol coursing through your blood, through your veins, and all that's doing is degenerating, aging you. It's only meant for temporary spurts to put you in action, life or death. when you're in those misery, chronic stress, that's what that is. Chronic stress is debilitating. It causes dis-ease. It creates the discomfort. It's a choice. The more you meditate, the more you're present, the more breath work you do, which we will do, the more you bring yourself to the present and you reset, you reintegrate, you don't fry out your nervous system, but you go back into the parasympathetic nervous system, where you can calm yourself, claim yourself. That's the key. That no matter what's going on around you, you don't let it take you out of your peace. You allow yourself to be the observer, the witness. That the head observes what you're feeling in your body as opposed to the head jumping into an old storyline. We need to be accountable for what it is we get attached to. Any attachment can lead to an addiction, and they can be promoting and they can be demoting. It doesn't mean that one's better or worse. But if you do have something that's demoting, you want to replace it with something promoting. If you need to make changes and adjustments in your life, then that's where you need to focus. But only you know. And we can identify those areas of your life where you want to see improvement. Life is about you creating it, not it being created for you and you being at the whim of some system that says, these are the steps you take from the moment you're born, and this is the life you will live, and you must do this to get that. Always having to prove yourself. Punishment, reward. Never able to be in joy because you're always seeking to prove yourself worthy of receiving a reward. And if you don't go along to get along, we're going to punish you. So what is it that inspires you, the reward or the punishment? Isn't that interesting? Get so distracted that you yourself don't even realize that it's fear that motivates you. That when fear is behind it all, that's why you're miserable. Because you're not being driven and motivated, inspired with inspired action, inspiration. This is a spirit within us. This is the breath, the life force, where it all originates. That your breath is the life force behind everything. And to stop that, to cut that off, to inhibit it, is killing life. It is not life promoting. It is life degenerating, demoting. It's taking your power away from you, or you giving it away from you. It's always a choice. So what do you choose? Misery or joy? Even if you choose your misery, you can make that temporary, but at least own it. And there's nothing wrong with that, because without your misery, you wouldn't know your joy. Nobody said you had to choose this or that. It's part of our culture. You know, the word cult comes from culture. That whenever we feel we have to choose this or that, we're denying something. We're not owning it fully. We're not saying, you know what? I don't feel I have to choose. When you're choosing, you're rejecting. When you're choosing, you're denying. You can't have one without the other. It's like people say they don't judge, but we do. There's different forms of judgment. There's judgment when you place a finger pointing, a projection upon someone. You're comparing yourself to them and trying to uplift yourself by putting someone else down. And then there's discernment, which most of us are doing at all times. Oh, wait a minute, I have to think about what my next choice and my next move will be based on these conditions. You have to discern. You have to weigh options. Switching lanes in a car. Just a simple example. I hope this message is reaching whoever needs to hear it today. My whole life is really about helping people level up, to inspire, to support, empower people, because you have the power. I'm not trying to be anyone's guru, and I'm not here to tell you what you should do. If I feel you want an answer because you ask a question, I'm here. But I really believe in circles of, sacred circles Bring people together. We can all help each other. We can all uplift one another. And that sometimes when you're in those circles and the intention behind it is to change your life, to change patterns, to improve your life, it's going to be that much more impactful. It's going to be that much more powerful. You can do a weekend workshop here or there. They might not be as impactful as doing 11 weeks for 3 hours each week with a theme to support you with yoga, with meditation and breath work, with goals, intention setting, rebirthing yourself to create the new you. Because my focus right now is to get out of all this bickering and complaining. It's not solving anything. It's not helping create the new. We need to convene. We need to be in unity to support one another, because that's the only way we're going to change this world. You working on you also influences those around you and the collective. Now, when we do small groups with intention, it's even that much more powerful, because we make a pact. We commit to supporting the people in the group for their individual growth, for our group growth, for our community growth, for the world's growth. It's all about intention. How are you going to show up to the world? How are you going to make your impact? And what would you like your legacy to be? For me, it's coming back to the womb. Whether you're male or female or wherever you identify, doesn't even matter. We all come from the womb. And when we go back to the womb, it's there we can rebirth ourselves. We can feel sacred, we can feel safe, we can feel supported. Because that's probably the one place we thought we felt the safest before we came out into this world, when we were purest to source. And we're still influenced by the environment around us and the circumstances of which we were in the womb and being carried. We didn't have control over that. But as adults, now we have an opportunity to recreate it, to re-experience it the way we would have liked to have experienced it. Growth. It's all about growth mindset. And if you're interested, direct message me, send me a message. It's going to be powerful. It's going to take commitment. It's going to take a promise to your heart and soul to align with your mind, your body, and your soul. It's about evolving, not devolving. I love you all. You're having a wonderful, amazing evening. Stay well, stay blessed, and join me 11 weeks. I love you.